When it comes to turn-based RPGs, very few genuinely appeal to me. There's Pokémon, and it's fine, and then there's Final Fantasy, which is also okay, I guess, but no turn-based RPG has truly had me gripped. That is, until I started playing Persona, and Persona 4 is one of the best ones. The game starts with you waking up in the Velvet Room, a mysterious space that takes shape based on what its guest imagines. Here, you are introduced to Igor and Margaret, who tell you that the next year would be a turning point in your life, and then you get to name your character. Seeing as how this is a JRPG, I decided to go with Kenji Tanaka. I mean, that's a pretty standard name in Japan, isn't it? The protagonist is transferring high schools for the next year in the rural town of Inaba, out in the Japanese countryside. Once at the train station, we're introduced to the protagonist's uncle, Dojima, a local police detective, and his daughter, Nanako, who you'll be living with. And remember the handshake! This is very important to remember later. Things start pretty normal with you getting introduced in your school the next day with a total dickhead for a homeroom teacher, and then, uh-oh, serial murder! No, seriously, the first day that you transfer schools, there's a serial murder in the area. I'd actually like to move back to Tokyo now, please. Is it too late to catch the 4 o'clock train? The basic story is that once the hero moves to Inaba, a string of serial murders start occurring, all connected to a mysterious world inside the TV. And you learn that the next murder victims appear on blank screens on rainy nights at midnight. After awakening a rebellious, heroic power known as Persona after you face the darker side of yourself, you and your friends decide that you have the power to put a stop to the murders and catch the culprit, especially since the police can't come up with a conclusion. Get it? Grown-ups are useless, let the high school minors handle this. After buying some weapons and armor from a suspiciously convenient blacksmith, you get into the basic gameplay of Persona 4, dungeon crawling and turn-based battles. The battle system in this game is pretty basic. You have 3 standard battle actions, basic physical attacks, a wide variety of skills that you unlock the further you level up from collecting experience points, and guard, which reduces the amount of damage that you can take. Like most RPGs, enemies have weaknesses to certain attacks or elements, and hitting these weaknesses triggers knockdown, and you get a one more, which gives the active party member another move in the same turn. If you manage to knock down all enemies in the encounter, you get to perform an all-out attack, which is where all party members completely duke it out to perform a super powerful physical attack, which will more than likely take out all enemies in the encounter. There's also separate random things that can happen in the middle of battles. Sometimes party members that aren't in the party will show up out of nowhere and offer an assist move. And sometimes, depending on who's in your party, 2 of your party members will partner up and perform a strong paired attack, and it won't even cost you your turn. There's also tons of passive abilities that can provide buffs to the party or trigger status effects on enemies, such as poison, confusion, silence, rage, and so on. The amount of actions and strategy that you can perform when in an active battle are quite staggering, and is what makes the battle system quite rewarding. Not that an actual reward wouldn't be nice though. After battles, you can receive items and experience points, and collect enough experience points, you level up and get your battle stats increased. Plus, when you reach certain levels, you can unlock new skills that you can use in battle. However, personas can only know 8 skills at a time, so if you're going to swap old skills for a new one, you need to decide carefully. Say for example, I level up and I unlock a powerful fire skill, but my skills are full and I have a fire skill that has less power than the one that I just unlocked. The solution is simple. Swap out the weaker fire skill for the new one. Easy. But then there are other skills that will be more difficult to swap because you never know when those skills are gonna come in handy. This amount of thinking makes strategy much more enticing when it comes to deciding what skills to keep or get rid of. However, the main protagonist is different compared to all the other party members because he can wield multiple personas at once. Therefore, he can use way more skills than any of the other characters, which automatically makes him the most powerful character in the game. However, he's also the most important character to keep alive in battle. If the main character's HP gauge reaches 0 even if there are other party members left standing, it's game over and you must restart the battle or restart from a previous checkpoint. Not that that's the only way to get a game over. In a Persona game, time is limited and you only have so many in-game days. If you don't complete a new dungeon for the first time and rescue the next victim by a specific date, it's game over. Which is easier said than done. As you progress through dungeons, your HP and SP gauges will be used quite frequently. The less your gauges are filled, the less effective you'll be in battle. And early in the game, there's no easy way to refill your gauges except using the limited number of items that you possess, or by using a healing skill if someone in your party has one. The most common way to refill your gauges is to leave the TV world and go back home to rest. However, time will pass when doing so. You need to carefully plan out how you spend each game day. When there's a victim trapped in the TV world, your highest priority is obviously getting through dungeons. The dungeons are pretty straightforward. Get through to the end to fight the boss, with a mini-boss in the middle and multiple other battle encounters in between. Dungeons have multiple floors, with only one set of stairs going up to the next floor and one set of stairs going down to the previous floor. And each floor is peppered with shadows to encounter and, occasionally, treasure. These things can be ignored, but you'll want to open treasure chests because they contain items that could be helpful at some point. And you will want to come into contact with shadows because the more experience points you collect, the better. And contacting shadows can go one of three ways. You strike a shadow from behind and you can have an advantage at the beginning of battle. The shadow strikes you and the enemy has an advantage at the start of battle. Or you strike a shadow anywhere but from behind and the battle starts neutrally. There's also Shuffle Time, which is a mini-game, more or less, that happens at random after battles, but happens more often if you defeat all enemies with an all-out attack. In Shuffle Time, randomly selected cards appear and you can choose one to give you a bonus at the end of battle. Some cards include extra XP or money after battles, increasing a stat of your currently equipped persona by 1, obtaining a chest key, obtaining a random skill card that you can teach to your persona, and so on. You can also obtain new personas from Shuffle Time. I think this is a great idea. I just wish it made more sense most of the time. Take this for example. This Shuffle Time has a skill card, an XP boost, and a card that gives me 2 more draws but slices my XP gain in half. Like, huh? Why give me an XP boost card if you're gonna give me a card that cancels that out? Not that the 2 more isn't welcome. If you plan your card picks carefully, there are times when you can get a sweep bonus, where if you manage to pick up all the cards in a shuffle, you get to pick 3 cards instead of 1 the next time Shuffle Time occurs. Get through all the floors and you'll come into contact with the boss, defeat the boss, and the dungeon is complete. Not that this process is entirely exciting, the most exciting part of the dungeons are the battles. Which brings up my biggest complaint about Persona 4. The dungeons are extremely linear. I literally only look forward to the dungeons only for the battles. The dungeons themselves are a joke. They are literally just hallways with occasional dead ends and enemies peppered throughout. Each dungeon does have 1 or 2 gimmick floors with a puzzle to solve, but other than that, there isn't anything unique about them other than their aesthetic. Castle? Sauna? Strip club? 8-bit video game? Secret base? Who cares? They're all just empty hallways with doors, treasure chests, and enemies. But you know what's even more annoying about them? Other than the puzzle floors, the dungeons are randomly generated each time you go through them. I'm all for randomness in some games. Minecraft is a procedurally generated game every time that you start a new save file, which is what makes Minecraft infinitely replayable. But when it comes to a turn-based RPG, randomly generated dungeons are annoying. And what adds even more to the annoyance is that every time you enter a floor, the minimap resets, so you never know where you're going. And the area in front of you is either dark or foggy, so you never know what's ahead of you. I really can't stress enough how much I hate the dungeons. Not that there isn't anything iconic or hilarious about going through the dungeons 4. Throughout the game, there are multiple outfits that you can unlock for your party members that they can wear in dungeons and during battles, which brought some hilarity when I went through the final dungeon of the game, dressed as the Power Rangers.
A total victory by Feather Owl!
A complete victory by Feather as us! Phoenix Rangers Feathermen are!
But forget that noise. My favorite parts of the game happens when you're lazy. When you're not dungeon crawling, you're attending school and doing different activities and or hanging out with friends. However, like I said before, time in this game is limited, and with only so many in-game days, you have to decide how you want to spend each game day. You can hang out with friends, take a part-time job, go shopping, fishing, catch bugs, and so on. Doing these activities will increase your social stats and provide you with bonuses to use during your playthrough. There's also side quests that you can pick up from people at school or in town. And completing these side quests can reward you with items or money. Some of these side quests include answering questions or riddles, performing tasks in town, or the most common and most repetitive, collecting items that can only be found in dungeons. That means going back through the linear dungeons looking for a specific enemy that can only be found on a specific floor of a specific dungeon to defeat that enemy to grab the items that you need, but these items can only be obtained from the specific enemy only when the quest is active and
I'm telling you as a friend, don't do it.
But there's an entire achievement in which you have to complete all 69 side quests by the end of the game.
What?
Hydration is important. As well as making friends. Yeah, let's go with that. Perfect take! Throughout the game are multiple unique characters that you can befriend, both inside and outside of your dungeon raiding party. You can ignore these for the most part, but you will want to make friends with people. The more you hang out with people, their social link ranks will go up and provide helpful bonuses during your playthrough. Especially your party members. Increasing their social link ranks will unlock new skills and passive abilities for them to use in dungeons, such as doubling their elemental power and tripling their evasion rates against the elements that they're weak against. And maxing out social links can make it possible for you to fuse extremely powerful personas. Actually, that's another thing, persona fusions. Throughout the game, you'll be able to visit the Velvet Room in between activities, and you can fuse multiple personas together to form a much more powerful persona. And when fusions occur, you can even choose skills from fused personas for the new persona to inherit. And the higher a social link is of a fused persona's arcana, the more bonus XP that they can receive. And maxing out social links can allow you to fuse the most powerful persona of the maxed out arcana. And maxing out a social link will make your friends' personas transform and receive new skills as well, which means what else? Max out the lover's arcana, why don't you? However, about social links, there are quite a few of them. 28 to be exact, and it is impossible to max out all social links on your first playthrough. Mostly because a few of them won't progress if your social stats aren't at a high enough level. The only way to max out all social links in a single playthrough is to max out all of your social stats by the time you finish your first playthrough, and then start a new game plus, where all of your weapons, items, compendium personas, and your social stats are transferred over. So this game practically encourages multiple playthroughs if you want to unlock all of the achievements. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I personally don't mind playing through this game multiple times. This is not only a good JRPG, it's also genuinely entertaining to watch things unfold in the plot and watch the characters interact with each other. However, it's kinda difficult to talk about the characters without leaning into spoiler territory, so... Spoilers ahead, if you have not played this game yet, you have been warned. There are plenty of characters in Persona 4 to love, though it's obvious that some are more well written than others. The main cast all have their own personalities, strengths, and weaknesses, and they all have their own dark sides that they eventually have to face. Starting with Yosuke, the son of a supermarket manager. The first time you meet him, he at first seems like a goof and a bit clumsy, but eventually he becomes really good friends with the protagonist. Sure, sometimes he's an idiot, but he's a really nice guy to be around. And he has a lot to go through, considering that an upperclassman that was really close to him recently died. And despite how he also used to be a city boy much like the protagonist, you can tell how much he loves and cares for the town that he lives in, and all of the people that live in it.
I hated this place when I first came to Inaba. You can tell how small the town is from up here. But looking at it now, it's a nice town.
And then there's Kanji. At first, Kanji acts all tough and defensive, but as you get to know him, you learn that Kanji is bisexual. In the most awkward way possible.
Tonight I'll introduce a superb sight for those searching for sublime love that surpasses the separation of the sexes.
But there's much more to his character than that. The super tough guy that loves bleaching his hair and dressing up like a gang member is actually super into arts and crafts, and he's really good at it too. Goes to show you that even the most unassuming can have a soft side, even if you share some awkward moments.
We're reenacting the birth of Venus?
Yeah, I'm ready to be born, damn it!
Sicko!
There's also Teddy, who passes as basically the game's mascot. He's an overall go-to happy guy and super friendly, but, how do I say this as mildly as possible? I don't like him very much. Don't get me wrong, Teddy is mostly harmless and adds a lot of slapstick situations, but he's also super annoying and such a perv and womanizer, even more so than Yosuke.
Nana-chan, you look so cute. I'm head over heels for you.
Dude, Nanako is 7, you pervert! In fact, there's even a point in the game when he somehow gets his hands on everyone's physical exams.
Give me your hearts.
Need I say more?
I am Teddy, the honorary judge for this pageant. Please keep in mind that if you anger me, you will be at a disadvantage.
Ugh, shut up.
Well, Miss Chie, do you have a boyfriend?
You are pure cringe.
Ms. Yukiko, have you ever smooched anyone before?
I will kill you.
Ms. Naoto, where are you ticklish?
Shut up!
Can I stay at your house next time, Rise-chan?
But Flaming Ninja Gamer, we don't care about that. What about the ladies? Talk about the ladies. Calm down. I'll get to the girls, alright? There are a total of 8 girls in Persona 4 to choose from that you can romance. I have not tried all of them, but I do have a preference. Who would be my favorite girl, you ask? Rise is a popular pick amongst players. She's cute and fun to be around. Well, you're probably gonna hate me, but she's actually one of my least favorite picks. Don't get me wrong, Rise is super useful in dungeons and battles. She has a good heart and cares about her friends. But Rise just isn't my favorite girl to romance because she comes across as the super clingy and possessive type. She practically fangirls over the protagonist, which is ironic because before she moved to Inaba, she was a TV idol and pop star. Talk about pulling a complete 180 out of the blue.
Oh, but sitting behind Senpai sounds great too. I want to squeeze in close.
Well, what about Yukiko? Yukiko is the daughter of an inn manager. She's fine, I suppose. She's interesting at the very least. She's decent to talk to and gets along well with Chie. If I were to go with someone different, Yukiko would be a decent 3rd, maybe 4th choice. Even though she's terrible at cooking and giggles at things that aren't even remotely funny.
It looks perfect on you.
But to be perfectly honest, my favorite girl in the whole game is Chie. Chie is super rambunctious, loves to eat meat, and is super into kung fu movies. She's fun, and pulls her weight as a party member all the way to the very end of the game. Plus, her persona transforms into a lightsaber-wielding samurai. I mean, what's not to love? Chie and the protagonist share one of the better dynamics in the game as far as story-related material goes. For my money, Chie is the best girl. Though she does often stutter and says the first thing that comes to her mind. Kinda like me.
Where'd the manners come from?
However, I think that the most loaded and developed character in the whole game is Naoto, where we learn that the cool, unassuming boy detective has been female the entire time.
How could you become an ideal man when you were never male to begin with?
In fact, Naoto not only hates being a girl, she's embarrassed by it, as evidence to the fact that she doesn't want anyone, not even her female friends, to know what her breast size is.
Anyways, the important thing is that according to the examination results, nothing's wrong with our health. So we won't be needing these anymore. I'm going to go shred them.
And it is possible to romance her as well, though it's obvious that Naoto has a much more natural chemistry with Kanji. Naoto may be my second favorite girl, but she is my favorite character overall in the entire game. At least behind the 2 people that you share a household with. Dojima, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is a police detective and a lone father. Dojima's wife got killed by a hit-and-run car, which he's still sore about since he can't find the guy who did it. He doesn't exactly take his role as a father 100%, but in all the time that you spend with him, he still genuinely cares about his daughter Nanako. And Nanako is the best kid, like, ever. She handles a lot of the house chores since her dad's always at work, but she's not exactly alone. As you live in the same house and you grow to know her, she grows so fond of the protagonist that she starts calling him her surrogate big brother.
Big bro. Even if I don't have a mom, I have dad with me. And now I have a brother too.
Nanako is easily the sweetest and most innocent character in the entire game. Okay, there's one more character that I want to mention, and that's Marie. Marie's social link is the one single most important one to max out because it is required to get the real ending to the game. She's a resident of the Velvet Room that handles Persona skill cards. She has amnesia, with nothing but a comb to remind her that she's from someplace. She's constantly hurting and obsessing over wanting to know where she's from, but she eventually becomes good friends with the rest of the main characters, which is why nothing but bitter sorrow is felt when Marie learns about her past, where she came from, and her eventual fate that she can't escape.
I don't know why, but it feels like I've known this scenery since a long time ago.
Which is more that can be said about one of the lower tier romance options in the game. Yep, you can romance her too. Don't ask me why, cause I never have and I don't plan to anytime soon. There are tons of other characters with social links that I can mention, but they're mostly just side content that don't have any impact on the story, which is actually needed sometimes, cause I need some things to get me away from Teddy. Seriously, screw you, Teddy, especially your bear puns.
The nose knows.
But hey, I haven't even talked about the music yet. Most turn-based RPGs have fully orchestrated tracks, but in Persona 4, it's a soundtrack that's mostly comprised of band instruments. From tracks that are very somber, tracks that bring suspense and tension, and tracks that just straight up make you feel happy with your day. And there are also tracks that have lyrics. A couple of them play when you're just walking around town. And then there's the battle music. But there are two music tracks that really stand out. First, my favorite battle music, which only plays during the boss fight at the end of December, titled The Almighty. My favorite track with lyrics is a song that only plays during the winter. It is a wonderful song simply titled Snowflake.
Snowflakes only on your face. A cold wind blows away the laughter from this treasure place. But in our memories it stays.
I really can't stress enough how fantastic the music is. Though there are a few tracks that I think are just weird. For example, the theme that plays inside the strip club dungeon. Though there are plenty of dungeon themes that are very good and just pops. Every single piece of music in this game is memorable. Heck, everything about this game is memorable. The school campout, the omelet cooking contest, the summer festival, the time Rise and Yukiko got drunk until it is discovered that none of the drinks had alcohol and they were somehow drunk off the atmosphere of the club.
Are you a pack of imbeciles?
Quite frankly, the whole game is a metaphor. Much like real life, our time is limited, and we have to cherish all the time we spend with our friends and family. As much as you won't want to end, it still does. Though you can play through it again, even though that is quite an endeavor. Persona 4 Golden is a long game. The first time I played this game, it took me about 80 hours to beat from start to finish. And you can bet that I will play through it again and again, because like I said, it's memorable. Now you may be asking, how is this game titled Persona 4 Golden? The original Persona 4 was a PlayStation 2 game that released on July 10th, 2008, and Persona 4 Golden is an extended version that released 4 years later on July 14th, 2012 for the PlayStation Vita. You guys remember how much of a success the Vita was? Because it wasn't, until Persona 4 Golden was released. One of the greatest JRPGs of all time remade for a portable console is what got more people wanting a PlayStation Vita. The Vita still wasn't much of a success, but Persona 4 Golden was an absolute banger for the console. And then, out of nowhere, 8 years later, the developer, Atlus, decided screw it and released Persona 4 Golden to Steam on June 13th, 2020. And its success still reigns, with reviews to this day being overwhelmingly positive. And it's only $20, which is a steal for an 80+ hour game. If you ever wanted to get this game, the time is now. It is worth it. Except for Teddy and the dungeons. But it is worth it.
Damn it, I said that twice.
For the incredible story, the simple yet satisfying turn-based combat, the memorable characters, and the fact that you could befriend a fox, I give Persona 4 Golden a solid 9 out of 10.
I feel like I'm going berserk! How very unfortunate. I've been deliberating over it for a long time now. At this rate, it might end up getting bare naked.
We get it, you like bear puns!